The show of the 90s, the team of the 90s.
How you doing?
Whenever they speak Michael Jordan, they should speak Scottie Pippen.
We created an image that people want to live up to. I think that's all you can hope for.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another special edition of Nerd Soup. I'm Beau Oliver, here with Aaron, the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are here to review The Last Dance, the new ESPN and Netflix documentary on the final season of the Chicago Bulls 1990s dynasty, featuring Steve Kerr, Tony Kukoc, Ron Harper, a couple good players they had there.
Yeah, it was a weird team. They just meshed together. They didn't have any superstars on the team. It
was more the organization.
Yeah.
Organizations win championships.
From the top down, it was just, they put
Mike Jordan, what they do?
They put their players in the best place to win.
Exactly. Well, Phil Jackson, the Triangle. We all know how that worked out in New York. But no, yeah, it's a very anticipated, highly anticipated documentary that was announced a couple months ago, right? Or has it been a year?
Well, it was always coming out, but they moved it up, I think.
Right, yeah, it was supposed to come out in June.
That was a good decision because people just on Twitter alone and social media, that's all that was being talked about.
Yeah, it was a big number. It was like 6.3 million viewers. People are craving sports and entertainment.
I think I was the only one watching Westworld that night at 9.
No, I was too.
Yeah,
I came late to the party there for The Last Dance. But no, yeah, it was an incredible documentary series, and I guess we'll start with kind of episode 1 because they're airing the episodes back-to-back, 9 to 11. Episode 1, kind of going into Michael Jordan's backstory a bit, how he started out, his college days, and there were so many just fascinating little excerpts from history with the footage that they've been using, but what can you say about this guy, man? It's so cool to see his origins, though.
Yeah, he's almost like, because we didn't get to watch him play. Maybe when I was 8 or 7, watching him on the Wizards, but
yeah.
Clips, YouTube clips, and things like that, you get an idea of how great he was. And obviously, you look at the numbers, 28, average 28 his rookie season, 61 in the second-year playoff game after missing all that time. And, obviously, with Twitter and social media, it kind of boils down to LeBron versus Jordan. I was
going to say, take a shot. Who's going to be the first person?
It always goes back
to that. Take a shot.
But I
wasn't going to mention him the whole damn 10 weeks.
Well, I just want to
5 weeks.
I want to preface our reviews by saying we both think they're fantastic, and whether you think Jordan's the best or LeBron's the best, there's no denying Jordan is top 2. I
think for these reviews we should just call him the GOAT.
Yeah,
let's just not upset anybody. I think the quote that stuck out to me the most is Bobby Knight. Bobby Knight coaching Michael Jordan on that Olympic team when they would only send the college guys. They didn't start sending pros until 1992, the Dream Team. Bobby Knight having the foresight to say, this is the best basketball player I've ever seen. He's 21 years old, hasn't even played an NBA game, but he's the best. And it was the combination of skills. The one skill that stands out to me the most, and it's probably my favorite skill in basketball, is body control. The guy's movements, he knew just how to hit that precise moment or movement to score the basketball. And you can't teach that. That's all instinct.
Yeah.
And you throw in the 48-inch vertical leap. Who's an athlete like that today in any sport? He just had so many gifts at such a young age.
His ability as a slasher is incredible. If you just take away his ability to shoot, move off, he just cuts through like a warm knife going through soft butter.
Yeah.
It's incredible to watch. And
he looks out of place in those old videos.
He does.
It looks like a modern NBA player was just dropped into the 80s. And there were some guys that were ahead of their time before him. People always say Dr. J was the first MJ before Jordan, but there was just something different about the way that guy moved and the way he played basketball. And all the greats said it too. The quotes by Magic and Bird.
When he's breaking down Bird in that first playoff game,
poor Rick Carlisle.
Yeah. Danny Ainge, what are you doing? Don't beat him in golf.
There was something on Twitter. It was Rick Carlisle. It was just his quote. He's like, I can't guard this man.
Yeah.
Help me.
But, just watching this sometimes I forget, he played basketball in a weird way, because just how we know him now, Michael Jordan, the sneakers growing up, watching him in-game in this perspective with the documentary, it's kind of a little, it's weird.
It doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
It feels like something that was just kind of created.
Yeah.
That the 1990s, this man just came through and dominated everybody. It's got a mythic quality to it. And when, they talk about how arrogant Michael Jordan is now in retirement and even in his playing days, when people are calling you a god for most of your adult life. There was that when they went to Paris to play in France, obviously. And he's introduced on that morning show, that news show, and they're saying it's the closest that a man has ever come to being a god, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
That can inflate your head. But that's what it felt like, man, the way that he leaped. The 48-inch vert, it's still the highest recorded vert in NBA history.
But just seeing him from like the perspective of in college getting drafted, I forgot who said it, but they said, thank God the draft happened before the Olympics.
Right.
And just the NBA in that time, just how you had the clips of Clyde Frazier saying he's not a 7-footer.
Yeah, he can't carry a team.
He can't carry a team. Just how different the NBA is now compared to then, because he kind of...
Oh, it's big men win championships. That was the old saying.
Now look at it now.
No, it's gone. The Michael Jordan archetype is the one you need. It's kind of that two-way wing that can also play a little bit of point, can guard multiple positions, the Kawhis, Paul Georges, LeBrons. It's guys like that, Durant. So he changed look at the 1990s Bulls. They had good centers, but they didn't have dominant big men. So he did, eventually, and he did struggle, because I liked when they went into the history of the Chicago Bulls before him, how just pitiful they were, that they were being outsold by an indoor soccer team.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
But yeah, just even that draft too. I mean, you look
What
back.
do you think about the Blazers? Do you give them flack? Because everybody says, well, they had Clyde Drexler. I feel like you can't get a pass if you pass up on the GOAT unless you get Hakeem. So
yeah.
I'll give Houston the pass.
Houston gets the pass because
Yeah.
Olajuwon is one of the best of all time, and he did win them a championship.
2.
Yeah, 2.
Another sour moment in Knicks history. It's a good Game 7. John Starks. Woo! I don't give Portland the pass. Not when it's the GOAT,
you can't.
man.
You can't. And I mean, looking at it from the outside in, the way the league was, and how we said that everyone thought you needed a big man to win, but man.
You know what's also crazy about him? It's from that young age. He had no fear. He wanted the big moment, and so many times throughout his career, he came up big and hit that shot, the game-winning shot in the 1982 national championship game. The first thing I did was go on YouTube and watch that game, like the last 10 minutes, just to see how it played out, but it's awesome to see Patrick Ewing there on Georgetown. James Worthy, as a senior, would go on to be drafted by the LA Lakers, become one of their best players, and he knew. He was like, I was better than Michael for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Hilarious. And he was just there, and it was cool to see the footage of Dean Smith talking about him. I always like when those hard disciplinarian coaches say he's a good kid, Yeah. I was just being tough on him.
Well, it's strange to think about not strange, but it's fun to think about just the impact Dean Smith made on Michael, because he was very highly touted out of high school, but they said he just kept making leaps and bounds, and I don't know if that was him coming into, it probably was a mixture of him coming into himself, his own body, and just being able to hone in on all of his physical God-given gifts, but having that legendary coach being able to be with him for those 3 years, I think helped immensely.
Well, 2 of the best coaches of all time that he really got to play for,
yeah,
with Dean Smith and Phil Jackson, and that really does help. And it's also his mentality. I mean, I say it all the time, the dude might be a sociopath. He's out of control when it comes to wanting to win. He will stop at nothing. He will work the hardest. He will outwork anybody. Doesn't even matter if it's basketball. We've heard the stories about his gambling. So, I mean, the dude, he had something extra. He had that just absolute killer will to win, and you don't see that in human beings a lot.
I mean, we've seen it with Kobe, obviously.
Similar to Kobe, yeah.
That's kind of like the...
But Kobe even admitted that I turn it off the field, off the court. Michael never did.
Yeah.
It's something that I think a lot of athletes aspire to as well.
Well, yeah, it's kind of now, like we said, it's like the Mamba mentality now.
Yeah.
That's what people consider that. But before that, it was Jordan.
And even guys, the way that they were taking care of themselves, because he said when he came in as a rookie, everyone was doing coke and smoking weed.
Was it the Chicago cocaine circus?
Traveling cocaine circus.
Yeah.
He liked that.
He thought that was hilarious.
He got a kick out of that.
But I always find it interesting, like the early years, like the before the dynasty. Like, how did they get to that point? And
before we get to that, his childhood, I found that interesting as well. I mean, talk about early years, early years. I didn't know about the competitiveness between him and his brother fighting for their dad's affection. I didn't realize that he wasn't the favorite, and his dad kind of admitted that. Larry was the better basketball player, and he always thought Michael was kind of soft. Go in the kitchen, your mom needs your help. So we've heard that all the time with great artists, great athletes, that they try to achieve greatness to either spite their parent or get their parents' attention. And he did come to he did love his father. It really affected him when he did die. So that was interesting to me.
Yeah, it wasn't really like in Space Jam when he's just getting buckets in the backyard.
No, yeah. They had a great relationship. Say, hey, son, you might play baseball.
Fly Like an Eagle playing in the background.
Oh, no. Fly Like an Eagle is when he's shooting around with the cartoons. And also him growing up in Charlotte, that he wanted to escape the racism of his childhood.
Yeah, that's got to be. He even admitted that it was tough, that he was fighting for that affection of his father, and just kind of seeing, I guess, his father and his mother go to work. I think he said his father worked at GE just to, provide for his family, going through things like that, and also the racism of that time, and him just wanting to aspire to do whatever he can to leave that.
It's funny because when you see him in his younger days, he does look like such a polite and shy dude. And he's so well-spoken when you hear him being interviewed in those early days. And throughout his career, he's always been a really sharp. And I loved when he talked about how the Cubs had been rebuilding for 42 years. So that Chicago should not go for the rebuild. He saw that. He saw that coming. He saw the struggle of rebuilding in a professional sport. But his parents really did a good job raising him to be a well-put-together dude. So he could kind of handle all the stresses and pressures of being an athlete. Obviously, he had that different mentality, but he was set up to win, I think, by having those parents.
Yeah, and the famous story that I think every gym teacher or coach has told
that he was cut
as a sophomore. But
yeah,
I mean, we've had sophomores play in our high school, and we weren't that great in basketball.
Dude, we had an 8th grader.
Yeah.
Camille, our friend Camille, played as an 8th grader. No, you also don't get a pass. It's like the Portland Trailblazers. No, you don't get a pass for cutting Michael Jordan from your varsity team. Sorry. Like maybe if it was Rip Hamilton. Not Michael Jordan. No, you get no passes. That's why I love his Hall of Fame speech, where it was just 30 minutes of him trashing everyone who ever doubted him. It's like, hey, Mrs. Greenwood, remember when you failed me in 4th grade? Look at me now, I'm Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
I guess that's what you could do, right? Yeah. But those early years,
What's the point if you don't?
It's fun because with Jordan, he was just able to let loose in those early years. Before the dynasty happened, it was all about stats. It was shooting 26 times a game and scoring 37 points on 50% shooting, 8 assists, 8 rebounds.
He walked on the court for practice, and he was the best player. That's
his
incredible.
Rookie year.
Yeah.
28 a game rookie year. That's a big number. It's a number you don't really see anymore.
No, you don't. You usually see that incline around year 3. I mean, the first year maybe like for the best players, 19, 20, 21. Then you get 24, 25. And then if they're that elite, then you see that kind of jump to like 28, that area.
Yeah, Luka's kind of had an impressive jump as a 19-year-old to average close to 29. Very similar.
And Luka, I mean, that's just a whole different conversation. That guy is...
He's very skilled.
Yes. Due to the early years, Jerry Krause clowning was probably one of the funnier parts and kind of sadder parts of the whole documentary, because if you look, he came in, a year after Jordan was drafted, and he was instrumental in building that dynasty, but he had that complex with him that he wanted more attention. It was going to Phil, it was going to Jordan, going to Pippen, going to Rodman, and he kind of got full of himself saying, I could probably do this again.
Oh, yeah. Well, when he drafted Tyson Chandler and Eddie Curry, he thought that was going to be the dynasty for the next decade. It's funny because Phil Jackson has that one interview where he speculates on whether Krause was bitter over salaries. And if Krause was an executive today, he would be being paid $10 to $15 million. Good executives make big money now. Daryl Morey, Ujiri in Toronto, even Popovich kind of with a dual role with R.C. Buford. I mean, these guys make huge money. Pat Riley. Phil Jackson got that $48 million contract. But yeah, like you said, he was very instrumental. He made the trade for Scottie Pippen. He built 2 championship rosters around Michael Jordan. He kept them competitive when Michael Jordan left in the middle.
The Oakley trade was a good move too.
Right, yeah, no. Even though he was Michael Jordan's friend, he made that move. Well, a lot of the dunking on Krause on Twitter, obviously with the clips that we saw within the documentary, but that Scottie Pippen contract, 7 years, $18 million. Somebody made a joke that Scottie Pippen applies for the stimulus check. So he's getting that $1,200.
I looked up his net worth because I felt bad.
I had to do the same thing, right? Yeah.
He's very well off.
I'm like, please, I hope Scottie got that back.
Yeah. But
people put his salaries. He kind of got paid in Portland and Houston for what he did in Chicago. It's a fascinating, and I also looked up his agent. I think his name is Jeremy Sexton. Huge NFL agent now. Phillip Rivers, Julio Jones, works for CAA, so he did well too.
Well, it's about, I guess, he wanted security. He wanted it to be like, all right, I'm guaranteed this $18 million. Nothing could take that away from me. If I get hurt or if anything happens, I'm good. But he wasn't expecting, or maybe they should have expected, if you're that good of an agent, that the revenues are just going to skyrocket.
Right, and that's why I kind of understand where he was coming from. When you grow up poor, and like he said, he grew up with 2 people in his household on wheelchairs, you don't know money like that. A kid from Arkansas sees $18 million on a piece of paper. Yeah, of course they're going to sign it. And maybe, the agent should have said, it looks like revenue is about to spike. And it did throughout the 1990s because of the Chicago Bulls. Scottie Pippen was very instrumental in globalizing the game. Obviously, Michael Jordan was more important, but Scottie Pippen was awesome, man. Phil Jackson said it. He might have been the second best player in the league throughout those years.
Yeah, I guess you really can't blame him for the contract, but you see with ownership that...
Well, they fleeced him.
They're not going to budge. Once the revenues went up, it's like, sorry, you signed. You kind of see that trend in the MLB right now. You have Ozzie Albies signing, I think, a 7-year deal for $30-something million. Just deals where you're just guaranteed to get something. I think...
what was that Rick DiPietro deal? Wasn't that like a 20-year deal that he signed as a goalie?
Yeah, but he...
Oh, well, let's not go into the specifics of Rick.
Yeah, we've seen long... Well, that was just a crazy long deal.
Magic Johnson did the same thing, I think.
Yeah.
He did like the lifetime contract in the 1980s with the LA Lakers. No, you can understand it with that security, but it's changed so much now because a lot of the top guys take the 1-year deals to try to maximize potential.
Well, in the NBA especially, because revenue is always going up. So they're taking short-term deals, and you see it with Durant. Even if you tear your Achilles, you can still get a max contract.
Yeah, right. 4 years, $200 million. Yeah, no, they probably should have saw that coming. But like you said, Scottie did end up. But that was a point of contention. Now, Scottie Pippen waited 7 years to do his kind of, I'm not going to play. I'm going to sit out. Now that would happen within like 2 years. And I like that. I like when the players do have a bit more power. Because even when the owner of the Bulls said, I don't want to hear from you, it made me pissed off. It pissed me off a bit. Because like the point that Krause made, that organizations win championships, the players are more important. Listen, you provide the infrastructure, you give the stadiums, the television rights. We're watching the fucking players. And it's the same argument I make about college basketball. You have nothing without the players. It's 80-20, which doesn't reflect in revenue sharing, but...
No, it's obviously the players. That's the product. And the NBA nowadays has done such a fantastic job of marketing the players where people aren't even fans of franchises. They're fans of players.
Yeah.
Back then, there would be no Bulls fans. There would be Jordan fans.
Right, yeah. And I think maybe he started that because a lot of people hated the Bulls, but when you're that good, you're going to get fans all over the country. That's how it always starts. The Yankees, the Lakers. And at that time, you saw when they went overseas, they were huge.
What surprised me, too, was the number Jordan got that year. 30-something million.
He was the first player in NBA history. And the first player and then the second player didn't happen for years to get up to that 30 million mark.
Well, you see,
I think it was Kobe.
Obviously, the big three in Miami took less so they could be together, but LeBron, he didn't make that much money until so much later in his career. He was making, I think, $16.7 million those Heat years.
Well, that's what happens. We got Scottie Pippen for 2.
Yeah, true.
You just give it all to Michael Jordan.
If Wade was making $1.8 million.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that kind of took me for a shock when it's like first in assists, second in rebounds, second in scoring, first in steals, sixth in salary.
Yeah. And that was his game, man. He was just so good at everything. And in that triangle offense, he kind of I don't know if he invented the point forward position, but he kind of defined it. He kind of paved a way for guys to come. I mean, Magic Johnson obviously was a 6'9" point guard, but Pippen was way more dynamic, especially defensively. And to be able to switch from playmaker to post player to mid-range player to perimeter player, he was just the perfect sidekick for a guy like Michael Jordan. Would do all the dirty work, just as good of a defender, probably the best perimeter defender of all time. It's him, Kawhi, Jordan, Kobe in that same class. I was surprised by how mean they were to this guy.
Or Oakley with the rookie stuff?
No. Jerry Krause.
Oh.
When Jordan went up to him and said, hey, you taking pills to keep yourself short?
Yeah. I mean,
and Krause is grilling.
The moves he made, getting Rodman, just surrounding. The thing is, though, it's easier to surround players with Jordan. If you're trying to build a team without a Jordan, it's a totally different story.
Well, it's also interesting that he was the one who gave Phil Jackson a job as an assistant coach. And I think Phil was an assistant for Doug Collins, and then Doug Collins was fired. It's interesting, Doug Collins coached Jordan. People forget that. He gave Phil his start. I wonder what happened between them because Phil Jackson, everywhere he goes, he seems to get kicked out. That's the thing. They're all dunking on Krause, but Phil Jackson gets kicked out everywhere he goes.
Well, for Krause, it was everyone's talking about Phil.
And Phil's also a big douche, so
yeah.
So he probably rubbed it in.
Well, as a Knicks fan, I don't like the Phil praising.
He's an incredible coach.
I know, but
he knows how to play
terrible
personalities.
Executive. You're gonna hear a lot of as a Knicks fans during these reviews, but as a Knicks fan, I feel like I have to because
he also won 2 championships as a player, so don't forget that.
I wasn't alive.
My mom used to say that nobody guarded an inbounds like Phil Jackson. You got that badge in 2K?
As a Knicks fan, every time I see other success, I just think about how pitiful our franchise is. And even when we get the people who are instrumental in success elsewhere, they don't do it here.
Hey, man, Jordan packed his bags for New York. Krause almost let him slip to New York.
Should have.
It is, I mean, when you look back, they won 6. But, man, how do you not bring that team back for 99? And 99 was a lockout year. The Knicks went to the finals as an 8th seed. They beat San Antonio. Maybe the Bulls beat San Antonio.
What was it? If you go 82-0, I'm still not going to bring you back.
Yeah,
That's what he says. You gotta go until you can't go anymore. You gotta bring everybody back. You just gotta let it ride.
When you have the GOAT, who's still playing so well at 35 years old. Scottie Pippen's 33 at the time. Yeah, you got to bring him back. And they got close to losing to Indiana. They're definitely going to get into that, obviously. Indiana took him 7 games. I think they beat him by 4-5 points.
It's especially in basketball or in sports in general, you never know what's going to happen. So when you have that nucleus there, they might be aging, but to kind of they almost sacrificed it for 6. They almost sacrificed 6 to start rebuilding, and look how that turned out.
I know, yeah, he wanted to stop it after 5.
So I don't know, a lot of egos in there. I deserve credit instead of these people, and like you said, organizations win games, but so does Michael Jordan.
Well, look at that game that he had against the Clippers when Scottie Pippen was out. They go into the frustrations around the team because Scottie Pippen was instrumental, and they had some skids there. They were losing to some of the worst teams in the NBA. Jordan had to take the Clippers to 2 overtimes, 49 points to squeak out a win.
Well, that's the thing. You can never do it alone.
No.
You saw it.
That look of frustration on his face was great.
When they're talking about like the toll that took on him those early games, and
freak of nature, but he was older.
If you take any player and don't surround him with complementary pieces that are above average or even great with Scottie Pippen and Rodman for what he was able to do, it's not going to work. You can't do it by yourself. LeBron tried and he did his best and probably got closer than he probably should have with those Cavs teams, but you need players like Wade. You need players like Bosh.
Well, that's what's also interesting is that back then it was very much on the organization to build a championship team. So when we look at super teams from the 80s and 90s, they're respected more because they were put together by a front office. Now it's very much the players saying, these guys can't get it done, let's just do it ourselves. If Wade, LeBron, and Bosh were drafted and developed in Miami, no one would care. No one would bat an eye. Well, they just got lucky. That's how it was with Golden State before they got Durant. Mm-hmm. You can't hate them. They just outdrafted everyone.
Yeah. Well, with the Celtics, too, they had 4 Hall of Famers on that team.
Yeah.
And it's just a different way of building. So, obviously, with free agency now, like you said, that players are able to kind of take control. And, hey, if my front office, if you're just going to give me Shaq and Antoine Jameson, I'm not going to stay here. I can't win with these people.
Well, Jordan didn't necessarily start that, but he was very involved with the front office. There's reports about how he nixed a trade for the draft rights to Tracy McGrady. That after the 97 season, Scottie was going to be traded for McGrady. Maybe that helps the Bulls in the long run if they're able to better build around a younger McGrady. We know what he eventually became. And maybe Jordan hurt his team to get that 6th ring. But once again, Chicago hasn't done anything since Jordan. But players being involved with the front office, he was such a big name. Like Oprah introduces him as the world's most famous man. How can you not give that guy a say? And now so many different guys do have says.
Oh, before I forget, I just want to talk about Scottie Pippen growing, 6 inches?
Yeah.
From freshman year of college to sophomore year?
Because we have a friend, Stu, who played basketball. We always thought that Stu was going to have that jump. Mm-hmm. That Stu was going to get to like 6'6" or 6'7", and he'd be in the NBA. Because that's what happens. These little guys, they're skilled, but they're not that great.
Well, it's like Anthony Davis. He was a point guard. Yeah. He had that spurt, and he was able to have all those skills and be 6'11".
Right, like a 6'1" point guard with decent skills is fine, but when you're 6'10" and you have all those decent skills, they just work better because of your competition. And when you're able to kind of still maintain the ability to move that weight around, the Jordan fadeaway. Is there a prettier shot? It's just the goddamn body control. He's always perfectly squared to the rim. No matter where he leaps from, he's able to just shift his body perfectly.
How he's able to just adapt and while he's midair and kind of just make his own
Jordan.
shot. Like it's like I'll just jump and I'll figure it out on my way up where I'm going to go.
Or on the way down. Yeah, just see what's going on up here. Okay, I'll just scoop it under. Like the most unnecessary switcheroo. You can against
jump
the Lakers.
Yeah, you can jump after him and be on your way down before he is.
Well, he was just such an overwhelming athlete. It's like, what do you do? How do you guard him? And the Pistons had a formula, but once again, those teams where it was Michael Jordan. It was Michael Jordan trying to beat the Pistons. And hey, a couple times he took him the distance, could barely squeak by. But yeah, it's such a fascinating point in NBA history. It's kind of the defining decade for the NBA.
You can argue that, for maybe as popular as Bird and Magic and them kind of going at it from college all the way through their pro careers. I think that might have kickstarted it, but Jordan just kind of took that and brought it to another level where he was the biggest star in the world. He can go to France and have basically look like the Beatles are in town. And for him to be the biggest star in the world, bringing more eyes to the game of basketball.
What's that hat called? A beret?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love when David Stern was like, I think Michael was wearing a beret because he's Michael. Yeah. David Stern was so good. Yeah. Such a sarcastic bastard. But yeah, I mean, we also lost David Stern this year, so I think he and Jordan, I think those are the four most important people that the NBA has ever had. Magic, Bird, Jordan, and Stern. Because Stern, obviously, once again, I made the argument that the player is way more important. The product is way more important. But Stern knew how to sell that product. He knew how to globalize it. He knew what he had with Jordan. He knew to allow him to wear his sneakers, to take all those advertisement deals, to push him in those directions. So you have to credit Stern. But yeah, no, I'm very excited to see this play out because there's, 8 more episodes of drama to go into that final season?
Yeah, I mean, I love how they're doing the build-up, too, where I thought it might just be, that road for that season. But they're kind of setting it up where here's the season, here's what happened. Let's take a look at how we got here.
Right.
Then they go a little bit further ahead, and then they're like, well, let's see how this happened and how this played out. I really like the angle they're approaching telling the story. The music's been great, too. When he's going off and they're playing that kind of old-school hip-hop, and he's just breaking people down, hitting shots, it's fantastic.
You know what's funny is that he doesn't like rap music. It's an amazing story. I think it was Noriega, the rapper, put him in a music video, and then they had to cut all of his scenes because Jordan just didn't want to be in it anymore. And apparently they were at a party, and he says, he goes up to Jordan, Redman and Method Man are here, you want to meet them? And apparently all Jordan said was, fuck rap.
Well, this the Chameleonaire story when he basically just
he was like,
disregarded him.
I don't take pictures with dudes.
Yeah.
Classic Jordan. He said the only person he would talk to at the party was Jay-Z. So I guess I respect him as a businessman.
Yeah, the Jay-Z's, the Diddy's.
Yeah, you got to give it up for the Jay-Z's, the Diddy's.
Yeah.
I wonder where he draws the line, Jordan. Because even Kobe kind of felt like he had a line. Like when Drake had the line, she wasn't with you shooting in the gym, Kobe was like, stop that. Don't talk on my marriage. You know? Do you remember when he got the Presidential Medal of Freedom and he sized up Obama?
No.
Yeah. Obama puts the medal around his neck and then he looks at him and starts puffing up his chest like, I'm taller than you. Like, yeah, you just made a bunch of jokes, but I'll still cross you the fuck up. I'll still post you, POTUS. So don't be talking, son.
It's like, I heard you ball. Okay. Let's see.
I'd love to watch that one-on-one of Jordan just wrecking Obama.
He wouldn't take it easy.
No. Oh, no, never.
The best part was when they had Obama on and it said a Chicago resident.
Another funny Jordan Obama quote is when they asked him, they're like, oh, you think he's a good president? Yeah, he's like, yeah, he's a good president. Sucks at golf. He's incredible, dude. But I'm as an NBA junkie, and it makes sense for us to talk about this. It's TV, it's basketball. We both love basketball. I think it's the only sport I'm qualified to talk about on this podcast. I wouldn't talk about any of the others, but I know so much about the history of the game, so that's why we're doing this, and that's why I'm looking forward to it.
Well, yeah, from a more technical aspect, not just you can have an incredible story, but the way they present it, like I said, the way they're going about telling this story, getting all the right people to comment who are knowledgeable about the game, knowledgeable about Jordan, and just other things like you have Obama. He was in Chicago during that time, and you kind of blend all these different worlds because no matter what part of the world you were during that time, you knew Jordan and have something to say. I
love the Sports Center anchor saying, The Last Dance coming in about 22 years.
I fucking hated that.
I thought it was funny.
Oh, my.
He nailed it.
Kenny Mayne, get out of here.
I don't love Kenny Mayne. I can't even remember his name.
But, come on. You really like that?
He called it. It's like Twin Peaks when it was like, see you in 27 years.
Yeah.
Why do you dislike that? He nailed the year.
Are you being serious or are you doing a bit?
Isn't that an old clip?
No.
That's not an old clip?
It's a State Farm ad.
Oh, I thought it was an old clip.
You didn't hear like all the other very on the nose predictions that he had? They're doing a bit.
Oh, no. I thought it was only the one. I'd only seen the one clip.
You couldn't tell the awful CGI with his mouth?
Are you serious? Are you being serious right now?
I'm being dead serious.
Well, I was watching it in my bed. The TV's far away.
Oh, my God.
What? I thought it was a real clip.
Watch it knowing it's fake. You're going to hate it. Terrible.
Yeah, that's actually terrible then. Why would they do that? That's not funny.
But I do like the old Sports Center, the actual clips.
I do like Bob Costas, 1980s.
Someone said they had David Aldridge when they had David Aldridge on. It's like I'm trying to skip. I'm so used to trying to hold the X to skipping.
Right, yeah, that's funny. All right, well, that's The Last Dance. Apparently my dreams have been shattered. Nobody makes predictions. I guess it's just Lynch. Only Lynch can do a prediction like that.
I can't believe you thought that was real.
I thought that was real. I thought it was a real clip.
He says something too. It's like,
why would they do that though? That's not funny. Why would they go through the effort?
Because it's a State Farm ad. And they probably thought it was funny. They've been riding Jake from State Farm for like 10 years now. You know, you think they know what's funny? The Chris Paul thing's old.
I like when Damian Lillard was the rapping baby though.
That was
they got a broken clock, right? 2 times a day.
Yeah.
See you, folks. Hey, guys. Thank you for watching this video. And, of course, we would like to thank our Patreon supporters. Without you guys, Nerd Soup wouldn't be Nerd Soup. Seriously, your support is what keeps the fridge full, so thank you once again for your support. If you are interested in supporting Nerd Soup through Patreon, visit our page and check out the different rewards we offer to our fans. If not, then no problem. We appreciate anyone who takes time from their day to watch our videos. So thank you to each and every one of you out there watching, and remember to like and share this video. And hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like it. Or don't.